Hey, Travis Blue here again with my sister-in-law, Addie.
Hi.
My sister Amy's here too.
Hello.
And we're here to make one of the Blue family's favorite recipes, the incredible chocolate cake we call
Gonk cake.
Now, Gonk was our grandmother, and we didn't call her Meemaw or Mama or Gam Gam. We called her Gonk.
This is a true story, yeah.
And she taught our family how to really make holidays, birthdays, special occasions really, really fancy and beautiful. Lots of food, lots of people gathering, having fun. She made everything really fun and special.
Yeah, like we'd go over on a random Saturday afternoon, and then she would appear with this cheese and cracker tray that looked like it was something out of a magazine. And we'd just be like, wow! And of course, we would all like destroy it. But it was great. It looked great. And I mean, I don't know anyone else who does that.
Well, where I come in with Gonk cake is when I married into this family. I married their older brother 20 years ago, and their mom gave me a recipe, and it was Gonk cake.
Look
and
at that thing.
Right? It's had a lot of love. I've been making it ever since for the last 20 years, several times a year for birthdays and other celebrations. And yeah, so I've kind of like carried the torch of making Gonk cake.
Yeah.
Have you made Gonk cake?
I have a couple times. I totally nailed it the first time.
We do.
And then the second time, epic fail. Just sucked.
Well, and I've made it so many times, obviously, but have totally had them turn out not beautiful.
Yeah.
Other times they turned out great. But it's not hard. It's just a little technique. And once you get it down, easy.
Yeah.
I've never failed because I've never made it.
Can you believe this?
I've never made Gonk cake. I've
Yeah.
eaten it a lot.
We've eaten a lot.
Growing up, and
lots.
I've eaten it so many times, never made it.
So yeah, today I'm going to teach this guy how to make his grandmother's Gonk cake.
A note about Gonk. Gonk was born Mary Lois Daig, then was Mary Lois Blue, then Mary Lois Thompson. Well, you know how it goes. That's my dad. He looked like this later. Anyway, when my parents got married and had my brother Todd, he tried to say Grandma, and it came out Gonk. And the name stuck. So when this handsome guy came along, that's me with Gonk, I called her Gonk too. So then her delicious chocolate cake became Gonk cake. There's my brother Todd with a Gonk cake, and me with a Gonk cake. Age 3. My sister Amy helping my dad with his. My little brother John even got one when all he wanted to do was put his fingers in it because it was his first birthday. But he got into the act later with Amy. And me in the background with my collar turned up and pleated pants. And anyway, moving on. So when we have Gonk cake, we always think of Gonk, who always met us with a smile, even though we all called her Gonk and not Grandma. So anyway, you're here for cake. So let's get back to the video.
Okay, so we've preheated our oven to 350, and the first step we're gonna do after that is buttering and flouring our cake pans. I like to start with room temp butter. It's easier to smear around the pan. I'm gonna put a tablespoon-ish, and I like to use a paper towel, getting all the cracks, like every surface really well. The butter and flour help ensure that the cake will come out really easily after it's baked. So this is a really important part because you could do this whole thing, and if you didn't do this, then your cake would not come out. I'm gonna add a little flour to the pan, and we're gonna kind of tap it around. Same thing like the butter, just making sure we're getting everything really evenly covered. And you have to do the double tap. Just kidding. It's the only way I know how to do it. Kind of shake it on the bottom again, and then I'm going to move over to the sink and just kind of work out that extra bit of flour and just kind of making sure I get all the way to the top of the edges and dump out the bottom, and that's what it should look like.
So we're going to start out with a stick of butter, room temperature. Always room temperature butter. Well, not always, mostly room temperature butter when you're baking. So let me get this in there. Amy's gonna hand me 2 cups of sugar. We're gonna get this in here. You cream this together. It's not gonna be like a real typical creaming where it's fluffy, creamed-ish together. And then next, after that, when that kind of creams together, we're gonna add in our 2 eggs and
Also
cocoa.
room temp, right?
Room temp on the eggs. Sometimes I fudge that a little bit, but if you can remember to set them out, good idea.
Okay, we're looking good. So I'm gonna add in our eggs. And after those get incorporated, we're gonna add in our cocoa, which will be 1/2 cup.
Thank you. Okay, so we're looking great. So I'm gonna turn this off. We're gonna add in our cocoa, 1/2 cup. And like I said, I usually like to kind of start slow or stop and start, just to make sure I'm not wearing it.
You sounds like you learned the hard way.
Oh, if you just boom, explosion. Okay, so as soon as this is like pretty combined, we're gonna add in, the recipe calls for a pinch of salt. I usually do about a 1/4 teaspoon.
So funny, all those old farm recipes are like a pinch of this, a pinch of that. And
Yeah.
like, what do you mean?
Right, so we're gonna do a little salt, and then about a teaspoon of vanilla. I don't like measuring vanilla. I don't know why.
This blows my mind. I would be so nervous.
We're gonna eyeball. We're gonna live on the edge.
I bow to your
We're living on
knowledge.
the edge. We're eyeballing vanilla. After this mix up, I'll probably scrape it down a little bit just to make sure we got it all combined.
Oh, it's starting to look so pretty.
And it's very chocolatey and buttery. Okay, now we're gonna do flour and buttermilk, and we're gonna alternate 2 cups of flour and 1/2 cup of buttermilk. And we're gonna do a cup of flour, a little bit of the buttermilk until we have it. Thank you. It's fun having a helper in the
sous
kitchen.
chef.
It's pretty cool. I think the buttermilk is what makes this cake.
Oh, hands down.
So
good.
So I'm gonna add in about half the buttermilk, and then we'll do the rest of the flour. I'm not really sure why we alternate, but that's what the recipe said,
And that's what you're gonna
I
do.
just do it. Yeah. Put that in, and we'll do the rest of the buttermilk. Make sure we get all that good stuff in there. And this doesn't need to be like perfectly combined, but you just want it pretty mixed together. So at this point, the next step is a cup of boiling water mixed with a teaspoon of baking soda.
And it gets real fizzy. This is where it gets kind of weird.
Yeah,
It's
I've
bizarro.
never done this with baking, but it works.
It totally
and so, yeah, so at this point, you're going to boil some water. Okay, so we have our water that was boiling, and Amy's gonna add in a teaspoon of baking soda. It's gonna get kind of bubbly and fizzy, and we're just gonna make sure that's all dissolved in there.
Ooh, it's making noise.
Right. And we're gonna slowly incorporate this into the cake batter. It's gonna get really sloshy.
Yeah, and it gets runny.
It'll seem like
Yeah.
it's too wet.
Mhm.
Yep, you have not ruined it. I remember the first time I made this, I was like, this can't be right. Like, I don't think it's supposed to look like this.
Yeah, I remember I made it too. I was like, God, it's like water. It's like,
is
it's
it
so
really
runny.
a cup of water?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look like normal cake batter right now. And so once it's like pretty mixed in, just kind of stop and mix
Do some
in
scraping.
any like parts that didn't quite get as wet as the rest. It's a really weird batter to work with at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But don't worry. It's all gonna be good.
It's looking good.
It's looking good.
I mean, weird, but good.
Right. And then,
Oh, how terrible.
right.
Okay, last step for the cakes. So now that we've made the cake batter, we're gonna evenly-ish distribute them into the cake pans. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but pretty close. Put them in the oven. I like to put them in side by side on the same rack. Then we're going to bake these in our 350 oven for about 30 minutes. I usually start checking them after about 20 minutes. Toothpick in the middle, if it comes out clean, they're good to go. When we take them out of the oven after 30 minutes, we will let them cool in their pans for 10. Then we'll take a butter knife around the sides to make sure they come out smoothly. And then we will turn those over onto our cooling racks and let those sit on there and let them cool completely before we ice them.
Sweet.
So I think they're doing great, and I'm still managing to not make the cake. I'm gonna eat it though.
Us too.
All right, let's make frosting, gals.
Let's do it.
Yes,
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
So now we're going to make the icing. You do this on the stove. You'll just need a sauce pot. Heat on about medium-high, close to high heat. Start with, this is 1 cup of evaporated milk, from a can. I'm gonna put the 1 cup in, and then we're gonna add 1 cup of sugar. Right at first, I give it a little stir just to make sure the sugar gets
incorporated.
in.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the whole key to this is letting it come to a boil. When it comes to a boil, 6 minutes, no stirring. I'm not sure why the no stirring, but 6 minutes, no stirring.
One thing about this icing that we just figured out, it's not the original icing for the Gonk cake.
Yeah, I just learned this.
Yeah, right. So it was a lot more sugary sweet and, you know, just.
Your mom said the original was like buttercream.
Yeah.
And not your mom's favorite.
Not mom's favorite. She's not into sweet icing. So in the 70s, my mom found this like baker's chocolate on the back of the box recipe for its best chocolate icing ever. And it is phenomenal because it's not too sweet. It tastes like chocolate butter and it makes the perfect chocolate cake now.
So, I love it.
Yeah. So go mom.
That's right. Yeah. So we're starting to bubble around the sides, which is what we want. And we want it to like a roaring boil. So don't be afraid to kind of crank up the heat. And as soon as it's just like full on boil, watch the clock for 6 minutes. Yeah. And this is once it starts boiling, it gets pretty foamy. So you want to babysit it just a little bit. I think we're good. So I'm gonna watch the clock. We got 6 minutes. Okay, so it has been 6 minutes. I'm gonna turn the heat off. And then with the heat off, I'm gonna add in, this is 5 ounces of unsweetened baking chocolate. And I've kind of crumbled it up into pieces. That's something I learned over the years is if you crumble it into smaller pieces, it melts a lot easier. And yep, this is a stick of butter. Yes. Put this in, and then about a teaspoon of vanilla, which we will eyeball again.
Again. Amazing.
Ish. And then just take our whisk, and I just keep whisking. I kind of like to keep my whisk touching the bottom of the pan.
Because it can burn.
Yeah, and it just kind of helps me not splatter. And
right.
So I just keep it touching the bottom of the pan, and I just keep whisking and whisking, and it will go like, the butter will melt. It goes from like watery and grainy, and then all of a sudden it's like glossy
shiny,
and thick and gorgeous. If you're stirring and it stays grainy looking, turn the heat back on low for 30 seconds, a minute, and just keep whisking, whisking and whisking.
Yeah, to me, this is the hard part of the thing, because you do get freaked out by the graininess. It can't come out runny. It can, it's a very specific, kind of icing. But once you get it, like you said, it totally works.
So we're really close. You can see we're really close.
Yeah,
it's getting really glossy, really thick.
Yeah, that's looking
all
real smooth.
Smooths out.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're gonna let this cool for a little while, and then put it in the refrigerator. You can even do this like the day before and put it in the refrigerator overnight, but we're gonna let it cool until it is a good consistency to ice the cake with.
All right, these cakes are done and they are cooled. All my efforts have paid off.
Indeed.
Yeah. I've worked hard.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Good job.
But we are ready to stack them and frost them.
That's right. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're gonna do. Cool the cakes completely. Icing's ready to go. We've chilled it and brought it, like sometimes you might need to sit it out at room temperature. Just get it to a really nice workable consistency, and we're ready to ice the cake. So we'll walk you through that.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Haha. Okay, so yeah, first layer onto whatever cake stand you would like to use. This is kind of what we're going for. And like I said, it's not going to be like perfectly straight or anything like that. And you could do that if you wanted to, but we'll just kind of go around with the wet paper towel, clean up the bottom, and it's going to look gorgeous.
Or you could do something like this.
All right, that looks amazing. It looks like Gonk cake. It always looked like this, except for it had my name on it and a candle, or several candles. Or now it would have a lot of candles. But I'm ready.
Anyways,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. I'm ready to eat it.
Yeah, us
do it.
too. Let's
Yeah,
cut
let's go
in.
for it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna slice into this guy.
All right, here we
Okay.
go.
Oh yeah, baby.
Let me see this first bite, Trav.
Takes you back, doesn't
It
it?
does.
Did we do it justice?
You did
I
so
gotta
great.
do this. I gotta do this.
Okay.
Because it's moist.
Nope.
Oh my
and,
god.
And the chocolate flavor is intense, but it's not overly sugary, not the cake
Mm-mm.
or the icing.
And it's not overly rich either. Like you could eat the whole piece instead of just like other cakes, chocolate cakes I've had. You could have like 2 bites and you're done, but not this one.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not too dense either. It's like there's a lightness to it
Yeah.
that I think sometimes you get used to eating things like flourless chocolate cake, whatever, things, or brownies and things that are super dense. And this
Right.
isn't that, but you get that really deep chocolate flavor. It's like,
Best
It's a killer.
chocolate
It's
I
a
say-
killer cake.
it's a great recipe. Try to make it at home. And if you make it and you mess it up, try it again.
We've been
And
doing
you-
it for years.
Right. And even if it comes out like imperfect or lopsided or
It's
like
gonna
it's
taste
good, yes,
Amazing.
so good.
it's gonna taste great.
Right.
So thanks for joining us. Glad I could be here with you, Addie.
Super
And
fun,
you, Amy,
Trav.
too.
Thank
Like,
you.
Super fun and super
It was
fun.
awesome.
Thank
I
you.
loved
All right.
it.
I loved
Okay.
it.
See
Okay.
You, hey, see you guys in the next one.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm going to keep it in tape.
Because you should. Dude, it doesn't disappoint, right?
Not at all.
Oh, God. That toast too long.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And to Gonk.
To
Thank you,
Gonk.
Gonk.
We love you. We miss you.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.